Welcome back to Westwood Engineering. Today we're going to learn a little bit about mirroring, and we're going to learn how to both mirror a sketch as well as mirror a feature. So let's get rolling. First of all, starting out with a sketch mirror. And a sketch mirror is really a pretty simple idea, and you may look at it as a tool to replicate a symmetric part and only draw half of it. And while that is true, there are a few cautions we're going to see. We're going to start out by sketching this part right here. We're just going to make this little sketch. Now we want to be in inch-pound seconds, and all that a sketch mirror requires is a line or axis to mirror across, and then one or more lines, arcs, or polygons to mirror. So it's really a pretty simple process. So I'm going to go ahead and start File, New Part. I'm going to start a sketch, any plane. I'll choose the front plane. And what I want to do is start out with, I'm going to go ahead and use a corner rectangle. Start at my origin, pull it up and out. I'm going to get this thing fully dimensioned. I want to do my largest dimension first. That's about 4 inches. I want this dimension to be 2 inches. And I want this line to be for construction. I can click on it and choose construction geometry right here. I'm going to put a second rectangle. Let's make that a center rectangle. And I'm just going to drop it kind of up in here. Apply a couple of dimensions to that. I want this to be 2 inches tall. I want it to be 1 inch from the bottom. And I just said 2 and I typed in 1. So my bad, I'll fix that. Should be 2 inches. I want it to be about 1/2 inch wide. And I want it to be about 1/4 inch from my construction line. And I just messed that one up. Hang on a second here. I want to go actually from my construction line to here, 1/4 inch. Okay, you're going to notice that my sketch is almost done. I want to put one more circle in here. Just going to drop this down, dimension the size of this, 1/2 inch. And I want to place it so that it is about in the middle of that, 2 inches up, and 1/2 inch from the edge to the center of my circle. Now you're going to notice that my sketch is fully defined. We always want to get our sketches fully defined. Remember, we need a size and location for pretty much everything. So now you can see that I can take this simple sketch and I can mirror it. And to do that, in the Sketch tab, so that's an important thing because the menu looks very similar in the Feature tab, but in the Sketch tab, in an active sketch, I can come up here and select Mirror Entities. Now, when I select Mirror Entities, I get this dialog box. First thing it says is, what do I want to mirror? Now, I can go through and I can click these things one at a time. I'm just holding down my Control key and clicking them. It's one way to select it. Kind of painful. So there I've got everything. But I'm going to show you an even easier way to do that. I'm going to hit Escape, go back, hit my Mirror Entities, and I'm going to drag up and left. Everything that I touch with that box gets picked. Now I don't want to necessarily mirror this middle line here, so I'm going to hold the Control key down and deselect that. Everything's light blue that's selected. Now the mirror axis, the axis that I'm going to mirror about is going to be this construction line. So I've just moved my cursor from my upper box, Entities to Mirror, down to Mirror About. Clicking that bad boy. And you'll notice I get a preview. Now it's light yellow and kind of hard to see on the screen. But I have a preview of everything I'm going to mirror. I want to be sure that's pretty darn accurate because it's kind of hard to reverse this. Hit the check mark. And now I've got a mirrored sketch. And at first glance, it looks pretty good. But one thing that I want to point out to you is you'll see all of these mirror entities. As I hover over them, I can see where the mirror is coming from. But you're going to notice a couple things. If I change a dimension over here on the thing that's being mirrored, 0.75, it'll update it on both sides. if I come over here to the item that's mirrored, and I try and do a dimension, it'll tell me it's a driven dimension and highlight the other side. So it can be kind of hard to edit these sketches that are mirrored. For that reason, I will tell you that it's probably not the best strategy overall to do complicated mirror sketches. But we can do that. So go ahead and save this bad boy, and I would like you to save this as in your class folder. And I'm going to save this as 1.3.6a. So go to my Wang folder, and I'll do first hour. And this will be 1.3.6a. We're not going to submit this. I just want you to save it for the future. All right, that's a sketch mirror. Pretty straightforward. Let's start something new. This time, I can do a similar operation, but instead of mirroring parts of my sketch, I can mirror complete features. Now, this is kind of tricky because a feature mirror is much more powerful. I can mirror across planes, faces, and I put surfaces, but it's really a face, a flat surface. I can mirror across that any feature. That's an extrusion, cut, fillet, chamfer, pattern, etc. Doesn't really matter. So we're going to start a new part. This time, though, I want you to pay attention and choose the front plane. We're going to make sure our sketch is fully defined, and the origin is down here in the lower right corner. And you'll see why here in just a second. So let's draw this little L. So again, I'm going to File, New Part. I'm going to grab my line tool, sketch in the front plane, and I'm just going to draw a little bitty L. And I want it to be vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, line up to my origin, and be a closed body. Notice my origin is down here in the lower right corner. Couple dimensions, biggest dimensions, 2.5, right here. 2, 1. Don't worry if it blows up a little bit. Grab it, I'll pull it apart. And 0.5. Fully defined. Looks awesome. I'm going to go ahead and extrude this 1 inch blind straight out. So go Features, Extruded Boss Base, 1 inch. Preview, looks good, accept it. This is my extruded part. Now I want to modify this part a little bit. The first thing I'm going to do is in the top of it, I'm going to put a extruded cut. I'm going to put a circle on the top. I'm sketching on that using my circle tool, but I want you to learn how to do this. I'm going to use a center line to position my circle. Every line has 2 endpoints and a midpoint. I want this to be in the middle of the object, so I'm going to find that midpoint, put a center line out to my circle, and now make that line horizontal. I'm also going to use this line to dimension the location, and I'll make that 0.750. And I'll make my circle diameter 0.5. I'm going to go ahead and cut that through all. So now I've got this basic shape. One more quick thing I want to do is I'm just going to add a couple of fillets to it. So grab my fillet tool, set the dimension of my fillet to 0.5, and choose this upper 2 edges, just like that, and the far left 2 edges, just like that. You'll notice it makes that round. Another way to make something round. You'll only see that if you have full preview selected. So now I've got my part. Now I'm going to mirror this part. To mirror the part, notice now I'm in the Features tab, and I come up here and choose the Feature Mirror. Now notice it doesn't say Mirror Entities. That was in the sketch. This one just says Mirror. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the mirror. And it really asks me just a couple of questions. It asks me, what mirror, face, or plane am I going to use? Now, I will tell you definitively, you're better off to use a plane to mirror around than a face. And the reason is if you do a future modification to the part, you alter or remove the face you mirrored around, the mirror will subsequently fail. So planes generally don't move within the parts, particularly if they're planes associated with the origin. So if you can plan your part to use one of the planes, one or more, the front, top, right planes, to base your mirror upon, it'll be a much more robust part. So I'm going to highlight this, choose my drop down, and as I hover over my planes, you'll see they appear. And I'm going to use my right plane to mirror around. Now what I'm going to mirror, I just pick off of the list here. I can also click on it in the drawing itself, or the part itself. I can click on them down here. But I'm going to choose everything that I just made, and you'll see I get a preview. Now it's a light yellow, kind of hard to see, but I've got my mirror axis, the right plane, and everything I'm mirroring. Once I'm happy with that, hit that check mark. There's my part. Now, if you didn't put the origin where I told you to, the second part won't work. If you did, we can mirror a mirror. So to mirror a mirror, I just click mirror again. This time it's going to ask me what mirror, face or plane, and now I'm going to hover through my model, and I'm actually going to use my top plane. The features I'm going to mirror is the mirror. And you'll see I made 1/4 of the part now, and I've mirrored it once, mirrored it twice. So this is very much like a pattern, where we can do a repeat of a pattern. We can do a linear pattern of a linear pattern. And there's my part. Now let me show you a couple things that don't work. So let's go back in time here and delete this second mirror. So I've gotten rid of that mirror, and now let's go back and edit my first mirror. And instead of using the plane, I'm going to use the side of my part. Looks the same, doesn't it? Mirror's the same, doesn't it? But now if I go ahead and try and repeat the mirror, or mirror the mirror, and I choose this bottom face as my mirror, I get that message. Rebuild error, could not find face or plane. And the reason for that is I'm trying to mirror an entity onto a mirrored plane that does not yet exist before it's mirrored. And that kind of makes sense if you think about what happened in this part. So we originally mirrored to create the part you're looking at. But the right half of this mirror plane does not really exist until it's been mirrored. So if I try and mirror that mirror, it's trying to mirror across something that's not yet present. So that's one of the reasons we want to try and use planes all the time. So the fix for that is to go back into this mirror. Instead of choosing a surface on the part, choose a plane that's in the part. And now I've got a much more robust mirror, and I can mirror everywhere. There's a mirror. I can go back and edit this. I can change where I'm mirroring now. I can mirror across the top there. And you can play around with this and get many more permutations out of it. What I would like you to do, though, is I'd like you to submit just this part right here. The very simple mirror part. Now, before we submit it, let's do one more thing. And this time we're going to change some material. And changing material does a couple of different things. It changes the physical properties of the part. And one of those physical properties is the density of the material, and that will affect the weight of the part. It changes a bunch of other properties, such as the material strength, its thermal coefficient, its capacity to hold heat, and a lot of things that we do in analysis in Solidworks that are beyond the scope of this course. But for right now, what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and assign a material. So let's do that. So to assign a material, what you're going to find is up here in the Feature Manager design tree, you're going to see the word material. And by default, it says not specified. That assigns the mass of water, 1 kilogram per liter. So just basic water. And to change it, I want to right-click, and I'll come up with a menu. Now we've got some favorites here, and you can modify these and change these. I'll show you how to do that here in just a second. But predominantly, we're probably going to do Edit Material. So right-click, click on Edit Material. This will bring up your material dialog box. And I ask you to make this AISI 1020 steel, right here where my cursor is flashing. When you click on it, you see the characteristics that are assigned to that particular material. In this instance, I've got an elastic modulus, a Poisson's ratio, shear modulus. These are physical strength characteristics of the material. Mass density, that's how much it weighs per cubic meter. Tensile strength, compressive strength, yield strength are all, again, physical characteristics of strength of the material. And then some thermal stuff down here, including specific heat, and if there's a damping ratio, there isn't for this. So to apply these values, I just hit the highlighted Apply button. Now this is going to change the physical characteristics of the material in addition to changing the material appearance. You'll see it slightly change color. For a more dramatic change, you can come down here, and I'm going to do a copper alloy and use brass. And I'm just going to apply that. You'll see that makes the part look like brass or look yellow. So that's an example of how to change the material properties. Go ahead and assign it AISI 1020 steel. Click Apply and Close. Now when you come up here and you go to the Evaluate tab and you click on that, you'll get Mass Properties, and right here you'll see the value of the mass of the element. It's 1.3 pounds in its current configuration, and you should have that. So that's a real quick tutorial on how you do mirror sketches, mirror parts, and assign material. We'll assign material for most of the rest of our parts. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.